Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great evening all over our country this evening. For everybody around the world who joins us on the Centralist, I'm glad to have y'all every week with us and hanging out and listening to the show. A lot of news to cross over tonight. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to keep up with. When you have a president like ours who's just kind of insanely, out there, it's just a lot of stuff to keep up with. And we do our best to keep up with what's going on. Plus, there's a lot of stuff going on around the world. I mean, we're still dealing with COVID, even though depending on who you ask, it's worse here, better here. It's just a strange. The whole thing is a strange scenario when it comes to COVID out there. Now there's a lot of contradictory reports coming back and forth. I work with a lot of I have a lot of doctors that are customers, I should say, and I talk to them about this all the time. And it's an amazing how many of them told me you should not mix and match shots. Yeah, that cracks me up. And not the only ones. There's been some big name doctors come out and said, well, mixing and matching shots doesn't really seem like the best idea. So we'll see how that works out for everybody. Well, for whoever asked, I got the Johnson and Johnson, and if I'm required to get a booster, I will. But they haven't told me anything. I'm under the age that I shouldn't have to get one, and only the CDC said it. Johnson and Johnson hasn't actually said it. They're kind of like, no, I think y'all are okay for now. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's nothing to worry about. And for whoever asked about the flu shot, yeah, get your flu shot just because the flu sucks. It doesn't matter how old you are. The flu just sucks. I've had it a few times in my life. It sucks. It's not COVID because I had COVID and it's nothing like COVID, but it still sucks. If you can avoid it, what the hell? We know those vaccines don't make you grow extra arms and have all kind of other weird things that happen down the line. But we're going to open with the story about China threatening the United States. Now, I thought this was an interesting story. I picked this story from a couple of places. It came across a U.S. paper as well, or I said across the U.S. news. But the original place I picked it up was actually in on Pravda, one of the Russian news articles. I subscribe to a bunch of different ones around the world. It makes it easier for me to track what's going on around the world. And it's also interesting to listen to how other countries perceive our news or what's going on in our country. It's just a different view, so you can get multi-sided views of what's going on because politics in the United States is so divided. These days, it's kind of nice to see from a fresh view of just reporting the news, other than because of this one or that one or whatever. It's just the news. So it's interesting to hear from different countries. Of course, Russia always puts a good spin on American news. You got to give them credit for that. It's always kind of funny. But getting back to Xi Jinping, so most people don't realize that Ping hasn't left the country since COVID started. He himself has been in lockdown inside of his own country. He has not left, and I don't know if he's planning on leaving anytime soon. But along with him and several others reported saying the same thing, it was worked out to basically saying the same thing. Okay, so Ping knows right now that the United States is weak and vulnerable due to the leadership it has currently. His words, not mine. Not him. Russia's come out and said the same thing. And so he doesn't really fear Biden. He doesn't think Biden can stop any expansion. He just thinks right now is a good time to take advantage of the United States because, frankly, there's not really much Joe Biden's going to do about it. Joe Biden's preoccupied half the time with what he's wearing or where he's going, and half the time he doesn't know where he is. We've seen that on many, many occasions, But so the original article came out of where did it come out of? It was Gordon Chang actually wrote the original article, and it was kind of strange when I first picked it up. But Trump kind of put the kibosh on China. China was on a way growth thing, and Trump just backed him in the corner. He got our allies to cut him off. We cut him off. We really cut back spending on him. And then COVID came along, and even less people wanted to buy anything from China. Still, I hear people, I don't want to get nothing from China. It might have COVID on it. And now they're going through another plague over there. So they're financially in a big spot. So they want to reach out to the United States and say, hey, look, we'll help you with global warming, and maybe we can bring up some fair games, some fair rules for competition. But the United States doesn't need that because when Trump did all of this and Joe Biden kept in place and actually added a few, it put China on their back heels. Our country has what it needs to survive, and China doesn't. And China needs to sell a lot of goods because it needs to buy a lot of goods. China is not a self-sufficient country. It just doesn't have a lot of minerals anymore. It can't really produce enough food for all of its people. It's in a precarious situation. So when countries like ours or Europe decides, the EU decides to say, hey, look, stop, you're overgoing. So now we've got them threatening basically to take Taiwan, and we got Russia basically threatening to take the Ukraine, which will completely destabilize the whole area. And I'm not sure that it'll get by without a war starting. I just don't feel that even with the goofball Biden, I can't see how he can let it slide. Not the Ukraine and Taiwan. I mean, that's just bull. It's just I'm not sure. It would be like if we took Taiwan and the Ukraine. I'm just not sure how that's going to work out. And the only way the United States can stop them from taking Taiwan is to really come down on China. I mean, really start invading China's territories, and really start bombing the piss out of them. So they have a big navy, but it's not a sophisticated navy, but it is a big navy. It was like back in the day when we had the United States Navy versus the Soviet Navy. Soviet had a lot of ships, but the United States had a lot of sophisticated ships. So one of ours equaled about five of theirs. And these days we have fire without sight missiles. We have a lot of stuff. Of course, now China has hypersonic missiles, so it would be an interesting standoff. But when it comes to air superiority, there's nobody on the planet that's going to be able to challenge us. So in the end, they would lose. So that's why they really want to come up with these rules. But he's not. Ping is not scared about it, not even a little bit. And you can read any articles you want. You can read American articles. You can read out of British articles. You can go anywhere in the EU. You can go to China, or you'd have to subscribe to China in English, but still, you can hear what the world leaders are saying about our leader. See, they didn't like Trump, but they were scared of Trump. Trump was one of them guys that he scared me sometimes. I mean, he might just blow somebody up just for shits and giggles, even though he was trying to end the last war we had going, which was Afghanistan, which was a good idea because, Obama swore he was going to do it, but he never could get around to it. But he did. Obama did get Iraq Iraq under control, so that was a plus. But still, at this point, this thing that Biden did was a joke. I mean, I'm not even sure what the hell he was doing when he left Afghanistan. Left Americans over there, left all kind of equipment over there. I mean, that withdrawal was that reminded me of Vietnam. I mean, Jesus, what was he thinking about? And then he's got this piss poor economy, and then he's got inflation. He's got crazy gas prices. And today I'm listening to him talk about, oh, well, we got our bipartisan bill, and this is going to show America how we can work together. Yeah, okay, you got how many GOP senators on this? 10, 8, 6, I forgot how many it was. It wasn't a lot. And they're catching nothing but flack about it. And it's just, it really looks more like a bill to pay back his good old boy friends, his good old boy billionaires. They're going to be ones that fund or get most of this money. That much is not going to come to us. So it's just kind of one of those things that you got to wonder what the hell. Why is it every time a bill, and they do this intentionally, okay, 5,000 pages, like Obamacare. Nobody was going to read Obamacare. It was 14,000 pages, some ridiculously god amount of pages that even the interns weren't going to read. And then when they would read, they'd find stupid stuff in there like, oh, we want a clause put in so that hospitals can determine if they have to, give care over 70, if maybe they can terminate. I mean, this all kinds of bullshit goes in there. It's like the last one, the 3.5 trillion, what the Democrats wanted to include. So originally their bill was going to be, if you use things like Cash App or Venmo or stuff like that, or Zelle, any transactions over $600, they were going to monitor because, they think that people are drug traffickers and stuff are using it, and they may be. So that was the original bill. But then they decided anyone who was spending over $600 like straight, they should be watching. Well, that's everybody in the United States. Anybody who's got a checking account, that's everybody. I mean, let's just be honest. That's all 300 and something million of us. It's everybody. Anybody who's got a bank account, rent, you can't even hardly get rent anywhere. Oh, hey, Jay, let Jay in with us. You can't even hardly get rent for $600. So, I mean, you're going to be paying $600 in rent or $600 in this, but anything over $600, they got to look at your account. Bullshit. The federal government has no right to be messing around in your checking accounts or your business accounts. It's just not their purview unless you're under audit for something. And they don't have that, because nobody's paying their taxes. No, because you're not managing the money we're giving you correctly is what the freaking problem is. Oh, hey, Amelia, how you doing, cutie? It's just they're just not managing the money correctly. It's a sad state of affair these days. But anyway, so hey, Jay, how you doing, man? I'm ranting and raving about
about the government getting our bank accounts. Yeah, I'm doing all right. We just had a good show with Jeff's show, but I don't know if this has been done before. Did they do this in World War II in Germany? It seems like Gestapo tactics that
It is.
they want to. I mean, they already track us through Google. With you go to an advertising, or not advertising. Let's say you go to Amazon and you look up this doohickey. Then you go to another website, and on the ads, that doohickey you just looked up is in all the ads left and right of your webpage. So they're already tracking everything. What else? What more do they need to know? And why do they need to be in our bank account? That's third world country kind of stuff.
No, because they want to be. And how, first off, when I first heard this, I was like, really? Okay. All right. Now, last I checked, the IRS really could not. They don't. So how are you going to go through 320 million bank accounts? Or let's just say 200 million, because a lot of these are kids. So let's just say 200 million. How are you really going to go through all of these bank accounts?
Well,
I mean,
I got an idea
have
for
to
you on
have.
that one.
You have to have.
I'll guarantee you this: they already have an algorithm. They've already got a program out that will search for whatever they want to search for. You're spending X amount on whatever, and some bank accounts actually tells what you spend on, whether it's the store name or Amazon Marketplace, whatever. So they have the algorithms out there. They just need to put in how much they want to look for, how much has been spent, and to which retailers and or online retailers, and then boom, they don't have to sit there and search through 300 million bank accounts. It'll just come up in the screen.
But and I would agree with that, but I know what kind of computers they're running. I doubt they even got the power for that. Last update that I heard of the IRS, they were updating to 950s. So I mean, and they're still running they're running less than 50 gig hard drives. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they do with it, because they run through a mainframe, and it's just a sad state of affairs. And they're not the only ones, by the way. Come to find out, several parts of our government use antiquated computers, and it makes them so hackable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why the hell y'all use this crap? But I guess from their point of view, I can understand, as long as they're working and they're doing it. Because really, I mean, all they're doing right now is tax software. I mean, that's basic software. So any decent piece of crap computer should be able to do that.
I think for the parameters you're looking at, what they're going to look for, they're going to need those quantum computers, because that's a lot of data to sift through. 300 million plus accounts. And some people have multiple
transaction. So it's 200 million people with a bunch of. Sorry, I got zapped by lightning, man. It's the average person who does transactions over $600. Well, I can say I make several of them in a month. So between this bill or that bill, or insurance, or house notes, or light bills, or whatever, purchases. So I mean, if you do that times everybody, so that's a billion transactions you're going to be looking at. I don't know. It's going to be a hard time, and then it's going to be a mess, because they're going to get it, and then they're going to screw it up, and then. So let's say that they can get them. Then how are they going to prosecute them all? You would have to hire a third of the country. But you'd have to hire a third of the country just to prosecute them all. It's just such a joke, and why the hell they want to do this is beyond me. I mean, come on, guys. And for places like NBC and CNN not to get upset about this, you got to wonder what they're getting out of it. I mean, because they're going to be going through their bank accounts too.
Yeah, what kind of
this is a way to get into the millionaires' accounts. Oh, look what Jeff Bezos spent it on this week. And then what happens if you're spending money on whatever, but it's legal, but it's kind of shady, but it's still legal, and it gets out? I mean, then was the IRS going to be responsible for this? And I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, you'd have to start a whole new agency. You'd have to. I mean, literally, you'd have to hire 100, 150,000 people easy, and which is great. It would create a lot of jobs, but still. And then the amount of fighting that would go on. So all these accountants would get in, and all these lawyers would get involved. So basically, half our country would now be accounting, lawyers, and IRS workers. No, I'm just not. I'm not seeing the advantage of that.
Well, you'd also need the police force to enforce anything.
Yeah, because you have to enforce it. Yeah. So I mean, it'd basically be a police state is what it ended up being. So I was glad to see it get knocked out, the $3 trillion bill, which we don't know what's going to end up in that thing or not. But it all did start over Vimo, Zelle, and Cash App. they were like, I guess they were looking at them for fraudulent things or ways to hide your taxes or transferring money around that's not going through a bank, not a monitored transaction through a bank. And I mean, everything I say send in my bank, it transfers between accounts, between business accounts and personal accounts, all that shit. I mean, the bank sees all of that, but I don't see where it's the IRS's business, and I
Well,
don't see where it's IRS
with any of those
businesses.
types of things, Cash App, Zelly, Venmo, et cetera, those electronic transfer programs or applications. I think, what about kind of illegal activities going on? People buying drugs or selling prostitution through that. If they have to, they can. They all they need is a warrant, and they can look at one or both persons' accounts, and catch you for buying or selling drugs.
But see, that's what this is about, to go past a warrant, so you don't have to. I remember when Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas kind of screwed with your Miranda rights by saying, okay, a cop, if he has probable cause, he does not have to have a warrant.
That's correct.
Yeah, so they did that, and now there's been tons of lawsuits over it because they're saying in a lot of cases there wasn't probable cause, but because the cop knew something was fishy going on, he acted like there was probable cause, and a lot of them get challenged in court, and a lot of them get thrown out. And it's and I can understand why they don't want to wait for the warrant, because by then you could get rid of the drugs, get rid of the money, get whatever the hell it is, get rid of it. But still, and again, it's like the roadblock thing. So the Supreme Court ruled that roadblocks are unconstitutional. So the way they got around this, and for some reason nobody's challenged it, is different states have different little soft points. Like Mississippi has to put it in a newspaper 3 days before a roadblock. Okay, they don't tell you where in the paper, they just wherever they put it. Louisiana only has to put it on the radio 1 hour before a roadblock. And it could be some obscure radio station that nobody freaking listens to. And they don't tell you where, so it's not like you just have to randomly catch it. So it's those are bullshit things. And anytime, ladies and gentlemen, you get stopped in a roadblock, they're assuming you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And what I mean by that is you either got to show them your driver's license, so you got a legitimate driver's license, or look at them so that they can see that you're coherent and that you're not on pot or you're not on alcohol.
Yeah, we talked about this last show. My roommate and I were going, I don't remember where, we were heading north, and we were in North or South Carolina, and we didn't know there was a roadblock. We didn't get off the highway because we were trying to avoid anything. We got off the highway because we were hungry, and at this time we were adventure explorers. We, like, almost every weekend we would just go somewhere in Georgia and just find a campsite and just spend the weekend there and check the area out. So we were in North Carolina, and we were hungry. We had to go to the bathroom, and we're in one of those spots where there's not a lot of exits on the side. So we're like, let's just get off here. We'll find a little town. We'll find a little mom and pop restaurant. We'll go to the bathroom. We'll get gas. We'll get food, and we'll leave. Well, we get off, and we encounter a cop roadblock. And the cop said, "Why did you get off the highway?" And I said, "Well, we were hungry. Wanted to find a little town, a little mom and pop restaurant, and we need to go to the bathroom." So they wanted to search the car. And I told my roommate, "Don't let them search your car. They need a warrant." And he's like, "Well, go ahead." So they wouldn't let us watch. They pulled us far away from the car. I'm like, "You can't do this. We can observe you looking through the car."
Because you can't.
So I moved up and watched this one police officer reach in to my friend's golf bag, pulled his golf spikes out, and pulled a piece of grass, actual lawn, golf grass off of his spikes, and goes, "Look, it's marijuana." Who the hell keeps marijuana on their golf spike? And not even that. It wasn't even enough to even make a single bong hit versus a joint. So they took us to the local constabulary where he was fined for possession of marijuana. But because of the fact it was so small and not testable, he only had to pay a fine. And we spent about the better part of 4 hours waiting for the court thing to go through. And it was just BS for this little town, for this cops to get their money to afford their police lifestyle. The cops, their car cars, and their guns and gas and whatever. It was BS.
Yeah, don't ever drive through Wichita, Texas. First thing you see when you hit through the interstate in Wichita, Texas, all the billboards say, if you've been stopped for possession of marijuana, because Colorado's right up the road, and they will stop you. They stopped us. They stopped us for doing. He said, "Well, you're doing 76." I'm like, "Don't y'all get 5 miles over?" He said, "Oh, no." He said, "But it was just a courtesy ticket." I said, "No, you stopped me because I had New York plates on the car. I knew why he stopped me. I'm in Wichita, Texas." And he said something about, he said something else. And then we got to talking, and I flipped over my license. He said, "Well, you're from Louisiana." I said, "Yeah, this is just a rental." Oh, and his whole attitude changed, dude. He was like, "Oh, well, wait a minute now. Y'all cousins and stuff." And he said, "Go on." But the point being is, I know two other people who came through there. They had bought some pot in Colorado, got stopped for the same thing. That's what he was going to do to us. He was going to want to search the vehicle, but once he found out I was from Louisiana, he just kind of blew it off. Because unfortunately for me, I don't look like a pothead, whether I am or not. Doesn't matter. I just don't look like one. So he's like, yeah, but and then I got his ass in trouble because I found out we never went over 75 miles an hour. I got GPS on it, so. But anyway, Joe was coming through and he tells me, he said, yeah, they stopped. It's not far from where you told me he stopped, and right there before the rest area where they can put you in the rest area. And he had, I don't know, I think he said he'd bought about $300, $300 or $400 worth. It was probably not even an ounce, maybe an ounce. Different stuff. Cop stopped, told him the same thing. Oh yeah, you were doing 77. I need to pull you over. He said, it's just a courtesy thing. We're not going to write you a ticket. Oh, and then he goes, oh, I think I smell marijuana. I need to search your car. And of course, he asked her, he said, do you mind? Joe's like, well, I don't want you to search my car, but, And then when he decided to, he just said, hey, look, this is where it's at. No big deal. Got one, found it, took it. Then he told him, crush it up in the grass and then go on your way after you give him the ticket. And I think he said it was $176. They didn't give him a ticket for speed, just a ticket for possession, and it was $176. Biggest scam I've ever heard of. But they said even if you get caught, I was talking to, I brought this up on air on another show. And a gentleman from Wichita, Texas called in. And he said, "Look," he said, "you can be driving through there with a pound." He said, "Yeah, they're going to take." He said, "He probably won't take you to jail, but they're going to write you up, and it's going to cost you, $2,000-$3,000." And I was like, he said, "It's a scam." He said, "But they like it. It's easy money for them because they figure one in every 5 cars coming through their county has got marijuana in it. So it's good odds for them. They're going to pull somebody over."
It's income. It funds the police. It funds their cars. It funds their gas. It funds their ammo, their guns, their bulletproof vests, and they can, with the money they're getting from that stuff, they can continue these roadblocks and continue to pull people over for a courtesy call.
Well, they roadblock. My house is on a bayou right here, and then there's a highway down the street where the boat launch is, and there's a highway over the 2 bridges. Well, the bridge comes down, and it's like a landing, then another bridge there, so it's a great place to do a roadblock. There's nowhere for them to go. They come over the bridge in front of my house, and I'll see them out there roadblocking and just hanging out. I got pissed and called them out one night because they were out there. Was doing one of the weekends where they had the drag races going on in Gulfport. So everybody was pulling up with a nice car. They're like, yeah, spin it out. I mean, I call them, dude, it's like midnight, 1 o'clock, and when you cops are out there telling people to spin up their tires, rev up their engines. And all of a sudden you heard it go quiet. But I think they told them they don't want them roadblocking there after midnight no more. And I told them, I feel dangerous. Like the cops aren't real well received right now. They're like 75 yards from my house. If there's a shootout going on, there'll be bullets coming through my damn walls. So I'm like, no. So, and then the best part was they had a trooper used to sit on the bridge, right? And he'd sit right over the hump where you couldn't see him. And then, of course, he'd always catch somebody speeding over the hump because they're dumbasses. But what would happen is people would grouped up together. As one would go over the hump, they'd hit their lights because the cop was in, and everybody else would be locking up their brakes behind them. So a bunch of people call and complain. You got to cause a freaking accident. What's wrong with you? And they made him stop. They're like, no, y'all can't do that. That's just ignorant. That's just ignorant. But that's a lot of cops. That's all they're about, making them tickets. I watched the other day. They were pulling 2-3 people over, going back and forth from interstate. I'm like, look at these assholes. And there's so much woods along the route between my house and interstate. You don't know where the hell it's sitting. They could be anywhere up in there. So I just put the cruise control on.
If the police officer is diligent and successful, the county and or whatever organization that runs them aren't going to say anything. There's a police officer down in Montgomery County, Maryland, who his daughter, 16-year-old daughter, was killed by a drunk driver, and since then he has been gung ho going after drunk drivers in Rockville, Maryland, for the last 20. 30, I don't know if he's still operating, but he gets like 85-95% conviction rate, whereas the people he pulls over, they go to court, they usually lose the case and pay fines and either jail time for a year and or probation for 6 months, yada yada, and drunk driving records on their on their permanent records and what have you. But nobody says anything. And I was thinking, just to see that if this guy is on the level. If I had the time and still living down there, I would go to bar after bar after bar, and I would not drink, have a soda, have a tea, get some bar food, go to the next bar, get a soda, get some more bar food, go to the next bar until he pulls me over and then says I'm drunk. I'm like, well, I haven't been drinking. Give me a breathalyzer. And when the breathalyzer comes up 0 and he still tries to arrest me for drunk driving, boom, you got a bad cop on your hands. So it's the community needs to speak up on these things. Like you
They
said
do.
there, where people are calling and complaining about these roadblocks, there is a danger. Someone who's not paying attention and sees all these cars stopped, they could cause an accident. You get a violent criminal who get pulled over by one of these things, and they're looking for drugs or whatever drug running type of operations. You don't know if these criminals are going to get violent, and if they do, who are they going to shoot at first? The cops. And where are the cops? Right in front of your house.
Oh yeah, and yeah, it's just crazy how it is. And they don't care, But now I think more and more people in the neighborhood are bitching. It's a lot of wealthy people around here, so they're getting tired of, and they're getting tired of seeing the lights. And when you want to leave your house now, all of a sudden you got to go to a roadblock to get out of your house. You're like, really, dude? Come on. We live how many of these roadblocks a month? And like during the holidays, they get stupid.
Yeah.
They'll be every other night, or 3 times a week, or all weekend long, and it irritates tourists to boot. They're like, come on, we're going home for the weekend, and we got to go to a roadblock to get home. It's just one of those things that it should be completely illegal. It's assuming you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Well, from what you said, it sounds like it already is, and it's unconstitutional. So, legislation has to go to specifically curtail these types of activities. If they're not constitutionally legal, then they got to either find, like you said, a way around it by announcing it in the paper or on the radio, or it has to stop. And it's probably better if it stops, because all it does is create problems, and it gets innocent people into trouble. Like with my roommate, we didn't have any weed in the car, yet they found weed, and we had to spend 4 hours fighting it in the court.
Oh yeah, it's all that's just a pain in the ass now. It's funny down here in Mississippi. I hear our governor talk about marijuana all the time. He's actually pro for, I think, the bastard smokes, but the state's like no, and they're like yeah, and then they're like no, and then they look like they were going to get it, and some lady pulled some trick on them, and I said something about the case is set up wrong. Now they got to start from scratch again. It cracks me up. I was surprised that Louisiana got marijuana. Now they got full medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Like Florida does. And Florida didn't surprise me because it's a recreational state, and eventually in Florida will be recreational. But Louisiana is a little different. There are a lot of red part of the state, and but you know what? Democratic governor got in there and did it. He said, "Yeah, guess what? Y'all getting marijuana whether you like it or not." So they got it down there, but it's hard because. So you're driving between Louisiana and Florida. Well, Louisiana and Florida, it's legal. As long as you get your prescription card, they're not going to give you no shit. But if you get stopped in Mississippi or Alabama, it is not legal. It's not. It's decriminalized, but still, you're going to get fined at the very least, and you're going to get your shit taken.
Yeah.
So and a lot of times Mississippi, they'll take you to jail, do the whole 9 yards, and tow your car the whole 9 yards, and it's the most corrupt thing I've ever seen.
Well, and the same thing is what happened with Louisiana is what happened in Maryland. Maryland has been a traditionally blue state and Democratic state. They've had Democratic governors for as long as I've been in the state. I'm out of it now, but I'm not too far away. I'm only, I think, 8 miles from the border to Maryland from here. But we got a Republican governor came in, took out the incumbent Democrat, and within his administration, marijuana has become legal, medically legal throughout the state. You got to buy a card, you got to get a doctor's note, and you got to get the prescription card, and then you got to go to the dispensaries to get it. But it's available, and I don't see it becoming recreational there anytime soon. However, I am in the state of Pennsylvania where it is also medically available, and we just started the legislation. We just went through this last voting period. Constitutional carry will be a thing in Pennsylvania within the next year or so, which is great. And I can see within the next year after that, recreational marijuana as well.
Yeah. And you're going to see this across a big chunk of the country. Places like Texas, for some reason, is going to be a holdout. I'm not sure why. Now, Texas, you can carry, but they're going to be a holdout. And I don't understand because there's probably more marijuana comes through Texas. The only state that probably gets more coming through it illegally is California.
Florida too. Florida's something like the drop-off point from Point South.
Florida,
and it goes up the highway.
I remember a friend and I were not far from where I live right now. We were walking down the beach, and I think I was 17 at the time, 16 at the time. Yeah, 16. And him and I were walking on the beach, and we seen these bales. We thought they were hay bales washing up on the beach, right? Just, yeah, there was 250 bales they recovered, and we're talking probably 50 kilos per bale.
Yeah.
Somebody who lost a fortune, and I guess maybe a boat came up on him or something out there, or maybe that was a drop off point and it just, the tide switched it or something. And I still remember, yeah, I can't say his name. He goes, "Damn, we're dumbasses." But we know,
How much you could have
and we
made
and we
just
smoked at
picking
the
up.
time, so
Yeah.
so it was just one of them dumbass things. We didn't what do we know? We were kids. We didn't know what it actually looked like in a bale and stuff all squished together and things like that. I know. I remember we went down to Tijuana. Well, we actually went and spent 2 weeks driving around New Mexico. So we stopped off in Tijuana. I rented a 70. What was it? A 83 Trans Am, black and gold, just like Smokey and the Bandits.
Smoking the Bandit. Yeah.
And yeah, so I rented it, and we loaded up with T-tops the whole 9 yards, and three of us got in it. And we had a bunch of money on us, and we said, because Pete was, his stay was in the Hilton family. They were Hiltons. And he said, "I wanted you to go around here." He said, "It's so beautiful down the peninsula side of the Mexico." Because I've been down the Gulf side before, like Cancun and places like that. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'll go." And so we stopped off in Tijuana, and we loaded up on everything we needed. I'm not going to tell you all what we loaded up on, but just say we loaded up on everything we needed. And so we stop off at this cantina, and we get down and had a couple of drinks, met a couple of people, um, brought them with us. Went down the road, and they were telling us about this. I'm not going to tell you what it was. Don't worry about it. And what do you mean? Who do we meet? All right, it's three guys just out of boot camp. I can't, if you can't figure out who we were meeting, just shame on y'all. That's all I can say. I can't be no more descriptive. This is not the kind of show, but
Ladies hit the road, as it were.
yes. And anyway, so we ended up getting like three apiece, and because American money is like buku in Mexico, especially back then, man. I mean, $100 was like, it was like a couple of grand down there.
Still is.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, they tell us about this hotel overlooking the mountain down there. They said you can see the whales, and it was a good time to see them. So we drive down there. Places old. Bathrooms are outside, by the way. And so we pull in. No air conditioning, things like that, just fans. But it was a great place. I mean, it was up in the mountains. It was cool, and you could look right over the edge. There was the peninsula down there, and was it the Baja Peninsula? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then and there was whales up in there migrating around, doing their things. We watched them with binoculars. Had a great time. Got blitzed. Drove down further. We spent 6 days driving down and 8 days driving back. We took a different highway back, but it was just he was right. I mean, the views were stunning. The people were just as friendly as could be, and you could tell. We were fresh out of boot camp. You could look at us and tell, even though we were in civilian clothes. It's no doubt
It
where
was
we
the
were coming.
haircut.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no doubt where we were coming from. But I mean, everybody was really nice. We had a great time, and I remember coming back across the border. And all right, get out your car. They took the hubcaps off the car. Well, that car didn't have hubcaps. They took they looked down the gas thing. They took the air filter cover off. Is what they took off. They took the filter out. They looked down and they opened the valve. They had a big old 4-barrel on. I'm thinking, dude, what your car wouldn't even run? What is wrong with you idiots? They look at the seats. They actually squishing on the seats. Then they got to run the dog. I said, whoa, with the dog's claws. I said, it's a rental. I said, this dog punches a hole in any of these seats. You just bought these seats. I said, so let's just be upfront about it ahead of time. And Kyle said, you just don't want us to go through. I said, I ain't got a problem with you. I said, why don't you just hold the dog? That's what he did. He got in the car, slid across the seats with the dog. And I said, see, we ain't got anything because we weren't going in. Because Pete had friends. If we wanted that, they was all over California. So, and so we get back across. And sure enough, man, they put everything back and give us a car, get across. And then Stupid pulls out he had a bag about this big and one of his just rolled up in a towel he brought with him. Some towel that the girl gave him. And I was like, okay. And we didn't get busted for that. I would have kicked his ass because we'd have been out to service. Mm-hmm. They'd have dropped us. And military sucks because the UCMJ says that if you get busted anywhere in any country for doing anything and they put you in jail, you go to jail first there. Then when you get out,
You're
You
in
couldn't
Leavenworth.
tell it.
Yeah, you go to Leavenworth.
So yeah, you're kind of screwed, man. You just don't even want to go there with that kind of stuff.
Pay twice for one crime.
Yeah, I remember when the first time I read the UCMJ, I was like, "What? We're screwed, man. This is just not me." So every May, look, it makes you behave when you're out. Well, most of the time, anyway. But like when we in tech school, we got more fights up there. It was an insanity place. Ginger, wait, no, wait, hold on. No, you mean about the Xi Jinping? Actually, they're running it on Fox and they're running it on NBC, I believe. Oh, speaking of NBC, Rachel's leaving. They're losing two of their biggest hosts are leaving NBC. They said,
Rachel Maddow.
yeah, she's leaving, and I forgot the guy's name now, but he's another big host. Two of their biggest names just gave him the bird and left.
Wow.
Well, Rachel's they're both actually too young to retire, so I don't know where they're going. And the articles didn't say where they were going, but they definitely are gone.
They'll pop up somewhere.
Well, Rachel, when I did the interview with Rachel, she seemed, she wasn't conservative, but she wasn't the liberal that she's made out to be on NBC. I mean, the woman is a gun-toting member of the NRA, and her old lady go shooting every Sunday. So it doesn't sound like crazy liberal to me. And there's a lot of other things she talked about that just didn't sound liberal to me. So I'm just thinking that maybe she had enough of the nutter train. Since everybody's over there's back and Biden like you wouldn't believe, maybe she's like, you know what? Maybe it's time to get off the crazy train.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with you. I don't think she's one way or the other. I think she's kind of in the middle. She kind of tends to lean towards certain issues on both sides, but
well, NBC kind of makes her.
She doesn't yell at any of her guests like some of these other hosts.
That's true too. NBC makes her try to take the liberal side. That's why she attacked Trump the whole time. And I asked her, one of the questions I asked her was, I said, when you were doing the taxes, because I was watching that night, I said, was somebody on the side doing this? And she started laughing because she knew what I meant. And she said, oh, yeah. She said, because there was nothing to talk about. She said, it was an embarrassment. She said, embarrassed me, embarrassed the network. She said, I was told. She said, I hadn't seen them yet. And she said, I told we got tax Trump returns. And we got him. So she said, I was looking for, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. And she said, I couldn't find nothing in there to even pick on him about. She said, it was squeaky clean. It was kind of scarily squeaky clean, she said, actually. But NBC wasn't going to run.
This means stretch it out because you don't have enough material to go on to the next commercial.
That's what that means. They had planned 2 hours on this, and she barely made an hour. They had to move on to something else. But and that's what that means. When you see your producer on the side going, you just stretch it, baby. Find a way to stretch it out. Do what you can to. Sometimes you'll hear them stuttering and stuff. I did read the one about affirmative action, and it is interesting. This is going to be the if it gets to the Supreme Court, it'll be an 8th or 9th time there. I agree that when you select someone by color to go to school, it is racist against other people. So I don't know how that works.
Or to promote someone to a job that they're not qualified for, which I have personal experience with that.
Yes. Anytime you hire someone or promote someone based on skin color, you're a racist. Yeah. Oh, you say, oh, I'm doing it because they're black. Well, you're still a racist. If you're not both, but you don't promote people and you don't give, like schools, scholarships should be given to kids that earn. I don't care what color they are. As long as they earn the scholarship, then they should get it. Now, like everyone else in the country, you can always get a student loan and go to school. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, it sucks because you got to pay them back. Yeah. And it sucks hard. But you know what? There's no excuse for you not. So and the student loans are not based on color. Matter of fact, the poorer you are, the better you are because you might get a grant. Mm-hmm.
And with the scholarships are so aggressive. You have to be highly ambitious, extremely good, especially if it's a sports scholarship. You've got to be good at your sport. You've got to have ambition, and you've got to write several papers throughout the scholarship, winning process. You may not get it the first time. You may not get it the third time or second time, but maybe the third time. It's cutthroat. I mean, it's so bad that people actually get into fights trying to win scholarships for whatever it is, whether it's academia or, sports type scholarships.
Sorry, I started talking. The damn thing was off. That's a problem, And so when you give someone a scholarship based on skin color, it just shows you're racist. And X amount of
on gender,
on gender, yes, as well. On genders. Quite a few colleges every year give scholarships based on gender and color. color, gender, the whole 9 yards. So, and now they want to start giving them based on your sexual orientation. So this is what's happening. So these people are all getting scholarships not based on their grades or not based on the fact that they're going to be contributing members of society.
Yeah.
It's based on these things where you have actually legitimate people back here that are going to contribute to society and now being pushed to the wayside. So who are we screwing? We're only screwing ourselves. I have no problem with anybody who wants to go to college should be able to go to college. Let's just be honest about it. And in this country, you can. So yeah, you may have to pay for it. You may have to pay it back. But you can go. Of course, you can always default, and 7 years later, they'll take it off your record, even though it'll still be there when the Fed can get your money. But still,
Yeah, but with the amount of money this country makes, we should be able to provide free college across the board. There's no reason why it should cost anything. And you think about it, just even 150 years ago, in most of the European colleges, Cambridge and Oxford, no one paid for that. Either you went there or you didn't. And I don't think anyone paid scholarships back then or paid tuitions back then. I mean, I don't think
it should be.
Archimedes went to college and paid money for it. I don't think William Shakespeare went to college and paid money for
it. What happened there? Stupid computer stop. No, I think everybody should be able to go to college for free. I really do. But
you glitched out there for a minute. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, that was weird. No, I was just saying. I think everybody should. I was agreeing with you. I think everybody should be able to go to college for free.
I mean, maybe there should be an entrance exam, but other than that, why should you pay for it?
Okay. So something weird going on. Yeah. Jay has been probed. I don't know what happened, guys. I think we locked Jay up for some reason or another. Let me. Oh, there it goes. Oh no, man! What the hell is going on? Jay, you back?
I don't know. StreamYard is glitching out.
Yeah, it was glitching pretty hard there for a minute. Yeah, okay, you're back now. Oh wait, hold on. Let me do.
And you're not.
I'm back. Okay, people, we don't know what exactly is going on around here, but this is weird. So, but getting back to the affirmative action thing, look, affirmative action was needed 50 years ago. It was needed 20 years ago. It's not needed today. It is really not needed today. And anybody can get in college for any reason they want to. And they shouldn't get in college based on their skin color or their sexual orientation. They should get into college like everybody else has to do by grades. And if you don't have the grades to get you in for free, then if you're poor enough, you can get a grant. And if you're in between, you can get a loan. But there's no reason not to go to college. That's the bitch part. There's just in this country, you can go to college. So I don't know why we have to have this. Houston just got in trouble just a couple months ago because this is what happened. So this is how all these big lawsuits started. About 15 years ago, 2 white girls had applied to go, I think it was to Austin. And instead of letting the white girls go in, they brought in 2 black guys on a scholarship, and that filled their mark for the year. Well, they sued the shit out of them because they said it was racist. They got in based on the skin color, which was true, but because of affirmative action, you can't sue. And what affirmative action means is affirmative action is simply discrimination against white people now. In the old days, it was to help out races, but today it's just discrimination against white people. And that's all it is because way affirmative action.
It was originally used to stop discrimination against other races, but it's gone the other direction.
Yeah, because now it's so like BETV or Black Entertainment Network or things like that. You can't have any white entertainment networks. That would be considered no bad thing. And anytime you have to use color in anything like black entertainment, just suggests that you're racist. And if you hire majority black employees, you're racist. And a white company can't do that. They would actually get sued into daylights out of for doing something like that. But a black company can, and so can other companies. So
and
now
there are traditionally black universities as well.
Yeah, so that's all going to have to change. Sooner or later, affirmative action is going away no matter what, because within less than 30 years and maybe 50 years, whites will become 48% of the country. They'll still be a majority, but they'll be below the 50-50, which means there are a minority because the rest of them take over. So then what, we're going to give everybody affirmative action? Oh, then there will be the white entertainment network. Well, that ought to be fucking interesting. That's all I got to say. It's to the point where we have to quit doing that. It's to the point where people need to get to school or do whatever based on their merits, not on their color. And I have
Do you want to hear my story about how affirmative action wasn't very good for me?
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
This is a good one. So I'm not going to give the name of the company, but I work for a home improvement company, and a position came up for a supervisor, and I applied for it as well as 8 other people. So there were 9 applicants within the store for this one position. One of the applicants was African female, and this was her first job, and she'd only been there less than a year. I think this was 3 years ago, so I would have been there 5 years at that point. And so the position was for the hardware department supervisor, which is something I had actually worked in. I'd worked in that department several times, knew the product, knew the area pretty well. And so I applied for it, got the interview, and the guy who interviewed me said that I'll let you know as soon as I know who's going to get it. You won't hear it through the grapevine. You'll hear it from me first. And I'm like, okay, cool. So after all the interviews were taken care of, they gave it to this employee who was African female and who at this time was a head cashier and not very well liked. She wasn't a very well liked person beyond her work ethic, which wasn't very good either. So they gave her the position of hardware, and I found out through the grapevine, not from the manager who did the interviews. So come to find out that she doesn't know what the difference between a slotted or Phillips screwdriver is, which is something you would think is kind of essential for that department. Didn't know what a drill was or what tools the drill bit went into. She came up to me and another associate with the drill bit. She says, "What is this and what does it go into?" And we just shook our heads. I walked away. The other associate helped her. But they found out that she wasn't qualified for that supervisor position, so they moved her to the paint department.
No shit.
Yeah, it gets better. They come to find out that she's allergic to the nitrile gloves, which 99% of the population are not allergic to them, and she's colorblind. So how do you mix paint when you're colorblind? Which generally affects more men than women, but she's one of those people that's affected by color blindness, and so she was not qualified for that department. So they opened up a special position in the flooring department for her. And any employee at this store that I work at, you're required to be able to lift by yourself 70 pounds. That's mulch, that's flooring tile, that's concrete, bags of concrete, what have you, which she couldn't lift up. Within 2 weeks of her moving to that department, she quits.
No shit, huh?
Yeah. And I'm like, the whole store was shocked that I didn't get it because I was clearly the front runner, qualified for the position, knew the department inside out and backwards, knew how to downstock things, knew how to put things up, knew how to price things and sequence areas with, when you put new items on the shelf, how to make sure it's located there. So I didn't get it. And I was absolutely furious with the store. And I actually went to emailed some lawyers, and they said, I've got a case and give us $200 and we'll move forward. Well, I didn't have the $200, so we didn't move forward. But they could have been sued.
Oh yeah, they could have been sued. And you know what? They don't, because they just expect you not to do it. They expect you not to sue. They expect you not to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, they just do. And, and I understood when we needed all of this. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, so, but it's different now. Somebody said the other day, well, you grew up in New Orleans when they had white mayors. I said, I grew up in New Orleans just when they had white mayors. And I said, I also grew up in New Orleans when they had black mayors. And I said, and actually, since the first black mayor took over, there hasn't been a white mayor since. I said, that was it. That was the last one. I said, so pretty much. And I said, the city is black controlled. I said, so I don't see where affirmative action is even remotely fair in that city. How can you do that when the population is already controlling the city? So it just kind of puts things on an unlevel playing field. And I don't worry about for people like us because we're old and we already know how to play the game. But, I always think about the youngins coming up in the field for the first time and people, and they have to compete unfairly, which everybody says, well, that's how it should be because, whites did to them. Yeah, okay, that's true. Whites did do it to them, but not the whites that are alive today.
Right.
And surely not the kids coming up.
Absolutely.
I said, so you're hating on young people who had nothing to do with this. So you're creating a problem where there wasn't one.
Yeah.
I said, you're making hate where there was none to start off with.
And it's not just in New Orleans. I can't remember when the last white mayor in Washington, D.C. was. It's been traditionally black since at least the 80s. I remember Marion Barry terrible mayor. He got caught red-handed. I mean, literally with his hand in the drug jar with a prostitute in a hotel. He got arrested in his boxers. He's in his underwear on national TV, being escorted out of a hotel with a prostitute in possession of drugs. I think it was cocaine. He goes to jail. He gets, loses the mayorship and what have you. He goes to jail for this, gets out of jail, and he's elected immediately upon getting, serving his time in jail, and goes right back to being mayor again. I'm sorry, but if you are arrested for any kind of illegal activity as a mayor, you shouldn't be elected back in. But that just shows the power of, the way black people used to be and where they are now. They have power. They're not stepped on and discriminated against, in my opinion, as bad as it was in the 60s and further back.
Well, I know a good friend of mine told me one time, he said, well, you wouldn't understand white people were never enslaved. I said, wow, you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
I said, did you really say that? And he said, well, it's true. I said, no, it's not even close to true. I said, white people enslaved for a long time. I said, the Romans enslaved them, the Greeks enslaved them, all kinds of Europeans enslaved them.
The Ethiopians enslaved them.
Egyptians did. I'm like,
the Egyptians did it. They're a black race.
I'm like, maybe you should get your shit together, man. I was like, but it always bothers me anyway, because a friend of mine screaming at me about racism and sexism, and then he gets on about being black, and I'm like, dude, you hate on all white people when only 3% of white people own slaves. That was it. I said, I don't even think it was 3%. I think it was actually 2%. I said, that's it. The other 98% didn't own slaves. I said, they were like everybody else, just trying to make it in the world, not get eaten by Indians.
Yeah.
Well, not eaten, scalped, I should say. So I mean, they were just moving along in the world, but that's not how the media portrays it. The media never says it correctly. It's always got to have something to do with hate.
It all depends on how you skew it. You can make the most innocent historical event seem like an atrocity if you word it correctly. I mean, if you did it correctly in the other direction, you could make Hitler look like a saint. And it's just it depends on the wording and what they decide to share with you.
But that's a good representation, because to Hitler's people, he was a saint, and he was considered brilliant in a lot of ways. He was just insane about other stuff. But it's the same thing with the 9/11 bombings. For us, it was a disaster, but for the Middle East, it was a coup.
It's a victory. Yeah. It's a W. It's a chalk on their mantelpiece there.
So it's all in the way you view it. I don't know. It's just time for a change in America. And I tell people all the time, you can't have true equality when you have affirmative action in a way. It's just not going to work. And I said, sooner or later, everybody's going to get pissed about it. And somebody said, does it affect me? I said, it doesn't affect me as much as it does young people coming up. And I said, I own my own business. I said, so I'm not competing with people. And I said, and it's besides that, I said, I have black friends, I have black employees, I have black subcontractors. I said, it's a little different. I have black hosts. I said, it's a little different world for me. I don't really look at it. I said, for me, I don't look at people by skin color. I just judge you if you're an asshole, if you're not. I said, you'll never hear me judge anybody by skin color, because it's not how I'm going to be, or by sex. I judge you by the way you act. I always judge people by their actions. And it's the way people should be judged.
Actions speak louder than words. I mean, it should be that way around the planet.
But if you watch one of these news shows, man, it's all they talk about, race nonstop.
Well, and there's other things that they should talk about that they don't. I don't think everyone alive today remembers World War II. I don't remember World War II. I wasn't alive, but I remember the history. And I'll bet you dimes to dollars, Joe, that there's a lot of people out there that do not know Volkswagen, the company Volkswagen that makes cars that people love. He put that through during World War II. There would not be a Volkswagen company today if Hitler hadn't made that law where they made a vehicle for every one of their population. Yeah,
people's car, man. And you know what? They were tough and dependable.
The Volkswagen means people's wagon or people's car in German. And it started during Nazi Germany. And I bet you there's a lot of Jewish people who, because of that, will never buy a Volkswagen due to the Holocaust. But I'll bet you there are some relatively young, historically uneducated Jews that are buying Volkswagens and don't realize Hitler
Oh yeah,
started it
that their great ancestors were the ones making the cars.
and
Um,
dying for them.
yes. Oh yes. It was a hard time. It was a crazy time,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a different kind of racism there. Somebody asked me the other day, "Who are you racist against?" I said, "Oh, I hate them effing Italians, man." I said they stink. They're funny looking. And the guy said, "Really, you really hate Italians?" I said, "Yeah, I can't stand them." And he's like, "Well, why do you hate Italians?" I said, "I don't know. I just hate them." And he said, "Well, isn't your last name Montaldo?" And I started laughing. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you don't really hate them, then, do you?" I said, "No." I said, "I got Spanish and Italian ancestors." I said, "I love them both." I said, "But I said, I don't dislike anybody." I said, "Again, I said, I don't judge you by your species or by your culture. I judge you by the way you act." I got a lot of friends, and all of them I met the same way. I judge them by the way they act. I got a lot of people I keep at arm's distance because they're idiots or idiotics or whatever you want to call them. But and then I just somebody said we should keep your enemies close to my ass. I keep my enemies as far away as I can keep them bitches from me. Soon was wrong about that one. I hate to tell y'all. That was back in the day when you had like two enemies. Today, when you got 50,000, it's a whole different ball game, man. It's a whole thing. Yeah, what is that? Yeah, UFO Paranormal Radio is where you can find us at. Yeah, and no, I don't mind y'all messaging me off of wherever y'all are, Messenger. You're in Messenger. Yeah. No, yeah, everybody used to open a room. Now everybody just messages me. Yeah, that's so I get like you know what it reminds me of is the old Yahoo days, the old Yahoo days when we had the chat room. Man, all of a sudden I get like just uku boom instant messages all on the side. Pal Talk was the same way. So I'd be in
Yeah.
the middle of the chat and they light up. So that's what it's doing on my screens now. It's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah, but
and
the more messages you get, the better you can make the station, the better you can make the show. So it's not a
yeah,
bad thing.
no, it adds in flavor to the thing. The girls call it what do they call it? My fake chat room. I said, well, I can't help it. I've been doing radio a long time. Don't be jealous. Don't be hating. Yes,
Yeah, I was
Pinguino.
thinking about that today. We didn't talk about it on Jeff's show, but I've been on Jeff's show now I'm going on my 8th year. December will be my 8th year.
So, the coming collapse of China says China believes it can push the U.S. around because of the incoherence with inside the Biden administration. So China's in deep shit thanks to Trump,
They
but
think they
now
can
they
push
see
it
it out.
around because of Joe Biden's inconsistency.
Yeah, incoherence. They say because he is.
Oh,
He's
incoherence.
incoherent.
Okay.
Yeah, he's incoherent. I half the time I don't know what the hell he's saying. He's like, well,
Yeah.
and he gets on the stage and they, oh, I'm Joe Biden. Yeah, and that's right, and yeah, and he was the famous Negro ever, and then and then he goes on, and you have to wait because he's talking about a baseball player. But if you cut it off right there, it sounds really really racist. And I did see
Hmm.
a few stations do that. They stopped it just before they started talking about the baseball player he was talking about, and I was like, that's just cheesy. I said, y'all don't need to do that. The guy's ignorant enough.
Yeah.
So so we had the
He's
report
worth.
of what's Prince Philip's girlfriend's wife's name? What is it? Whatever the hell she is.
Oh, it's
Camilla. Yeah,
Camilla.
Camilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Camilla and one of her friends start talking about Joe Biden walking down the thing farting for like 2 minutes, and I was like, really? And I didn't when I seen the story originally. I was like, no, this is a bullshit story. So then I went and looked it up. I looked it up on the BBC, and I said, no, it's not. And then they've got Camilla in her own words talking about it and how bad it stunk and how rude it was. She said a royal would never fart; they would go somewhere and fart. I was like, but it was because you could tell she was actually just shocked by it somebody would do that. So then we find out that he's visiting the Pope, and all of a sudden, while he's talking Pope, he has to go take a break, a 30-minute break. And the rumor was he shit himself. Well, nobody knew for sure, but he did come back in a different suit after the break.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
So I don't know. I mean, we got a president that can't even control his bowels. How's he going to control the military? I mean, dude, I hate to pick on you, Biden, but you just get worse every day. I'm just scared that you might wake up one morning and hit the nuclear button by accident. Oh, what's that, Will? Look at
Well,
this
fortunately,
guy.
there are checks and balances on that. He can't just go click because they're all throughout the 80s. People, particularly our enemies, were scared to death of Reagan accidentally going, "What's this button?" and launching nukes. it can't happen that way. There are several things he's got to go through to even get the missiles armed and ready to launch. And several of those things is actually going through another human being, a general, an admiral, et cetera, to get the weapons at least A, armed, and then B, before he launches, he has to give a code to a general who gives another code to a guy at the missile launching center who punches it into a computer who then says fire, and then it goes. It's not just push a button and it happens. There's a more involved process.
Yeah, there's a little bit more involved process. It's gotten a little more complicated over the years, but on certain events, the president can override all of that, like an immediate attack, like 9/11. If that would have been a nuclear attack, he could have skipped all of that. He could have sent the codes directly to the subs, and they could have fired right on the spot. So there is a way around it, but it has to be under certain situations. There's a way he can bypass Congress, but it really has to be a tough thing. But who knows? I mean, because the generals aren't going to just do it without a reason. Well, I don't know. They might. They're insane. I mean, you never know who's in charge anymore.
Well, and I don't know how it works through that system, but I do know on naval vessels, non-nuclear devices that they have to launch, whether it's a torpedo or missile or a torpedo launch missile, when the captain says fire, he doesn't just say fire. He goes fire, fire, fire. And when they say it 3 times in a row, that tells the guy at the fire control board he's serious. But if he just says fire the missiles, they don't do it. They've got to go. They have all these protocols, and on the naval boats, it's fire, fire, fire. Then the missile control guy hits the button and launches whatever has been ordered into the either torpedo tube or the vertical tube.
I like when they tell you fire at will. That's more fun.
Yeah. Well, then when they do that, it's also fire at will, fire at will, fire at will. They don't just say fire at will and then it goes off.
It is. And there are a lot of protocols, like on a bridge of a carrier. I was really lucky growing up because when I got my clearances and all, but I remember when I first got on a Nimitz, right? We land on board. I flew in on a F6 a Corsair is what I flew in on, A72 Corsair or A7E Corsair,
cool.
Which is a 2-seater. So there's a bombing plane that it's not supersonic. It only does about 650. This bitch, I swear, felt like it was going to rattle apart. But anyway,
giant tank in the air.
so we land, in a carrier. Pretty cool, really good pilot. So we get out, and my commander's there to meet me. We get the crew together and we're talking. He said, your commander from the base said that I should immediately put you on deck duty and give you your own squadron to take care of it. I was like, really? And he said, yeah. He said, you were just really good at it to stop and go, because we had to go to bombardry before we went to there. I got lucky. So I actually got duty time before I got on the carrier. And they really liked me. So I said, sure. So they gave me a F-18 squadron. Just brand new to take care of it. Now don't get me wrong, I worked on a lot of other jets, but that was my primary squadron. So originally I was attached to what they called the River Rattlers, which was an A-72 Corsair squadron out of Belichase, which I've always stayed attached to when I was on board the ship. But the one I was in charge of taking care of was that. So then they made me a plane captain, which means I was in charge of the entire effing deck. Even the pilots had to listen to me because that was my deck. You didn't give a shit. You outraged me or not. You were on my deck. You did what I said. And if you didn't, your ass was in a world of shit. And I'd be out there on the deck walking around like a peacock, man. Do this, do this, do this. And I had my guys so well trained. We were launching planes. The captain, I got a accommodation. We were getting planes off the deck so fast. He was amazed. He's like, he said, how in the hell? He said, I've been a captain a long time, and we do a lot of this flight. He said, you've increased your flight time by 10 seconds. He said, shaving off a second is like a miracle. He said, how the hell? And I said, they motivated. And I said, our guys know exactly what to be, exactly what to do. And I said, our hand signals are real well. They're very clear. Because you can't hear anything on the deck. You get your head, your ear gears on, because there's nothing you can hear. It's just roaring all the time. There's jets engines going on, huffers running. And ladies and gentlemen, the huffers are the thing you stick inside the plane to turn the turbines to start the jet up. And it's all you heard. So it's all hand signals. And, so I get out there. Then I get the jet set. And you'd see me. I was the guy that would salute the pilot and then duck. That was the final stage of letting him release. Because when I saluted him, he thrust it up. When I ducked, the guy let go of the catapult. And away that bastard went.
Yeah.
So we had cut out the hand signals on that, because as soon as that was a told him, I said, as soon as you see me squat and clear that wings, you just launch. Don't wait for me. And boom, 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 boom. That knocked off about 2 seconds. There's a couple places we just shaved it off. And so I actually got 2 combinations for that. and it was a lot of fun on the deck. It was scary as shit. I ain't gonna lie to you, but and none of our crew ever got hurt, but I seen a lot of people get. I seen one plane. I don't know what happened. He went, man, it took off, and something happened with the catapult and stopped mid catapult, and the plane just kind of arced up and rolled over and just flopped down on its side and ran into the conning tower.
Oh,
Uh,
ouch.
thank God none of the missiles went off, man. I was like, shit. Pilot survived. Then I seen a guy. So when you're on these jets, you have to put these pins in to keep like the ejection sheet from popping or missiles from falling down, shit like that, just extra security. So somehow or another, one of the guys who was running was riding them in. So usually, once the pilots got out, we just check high brakes, make sure nothing was going to blow up and explode, and then we'd go around the plane, put all the pins outside. Then we'd climb them outside and put all the pins inside the cockpit, and then we'd climb in the cockpit and ride the plane into the hangar, and because it was our responsibility from that point forward. And I don't know what happened, but the guy got in that thing and he was getting off. He was on the elevator, and the plane had just rolled in, and he was getting ready to get out. And the type they had on that particular plane was like a hook. It was a white handle that had a hook in it. And he caught his foot, and when he did, it set it off. Well, it slammed him against the top of the next deck, and it squished him basically. Killed him, did his doornail, and I was just like, "What the just happened?" And that's about paying attention where you are. Thank you. I'm glad. I hate to say it like that, but I'm glad he wasn't in my duty group. It was, he's working for somebody else. And that's the first thing you do before you climb your ass in that cockpit. Is you put them pins in.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's a carrier or even a submarine. You've got to be on your game.
Oh, you got to be on your
You're
game.
not paying attention. You're off the boat. You're in the water. You're dead. You can kill
I
yourself
was
so
gonna
quick.
I was gonna apply for sub duty, but there ain't hardly no women on the sub duties. And at 18, I was like,
Yeah,
actually
30 years
19.
ago, no, there wouldn't have been.
But on the carrier, no, we had was a carrier held at our time. Battle ready was 4,800. I think we
Yeah,
had like
at
almost a
least
thousand
3,000
women.
minimum crew to start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had at least 1,000 women on board. So, we had 2 bowling lanes and commissaries and little
Mhm.
restaurant thingies and movie theaters and stuff like that. So yeah, you get R&R. There's always somebody making some illegal liquor.
Yeah.
I still remember, like, I'm riding high brakes. I go pull this plane up, and I'm getting ready to pop the back hatches to let it air out. And he's like, "No, no, Joe, I'll take care of that." I'm like, "Dude, it's my job." He said, "No, I'll take care of that." I'm like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Because I don't want to just my CO to come down on my ass, or for my sergeant, my what the hell did you call him, Master Chief, to come and get on my ass." I said, I don't want to hear." He said, "No, no, I got to take care of." Yeah, yeah, take care. He pulled out 2 big black bags full of you know what. Yeah, no good. I only found out because I seen him take bags. I didn't know what it was in. I found out for somebody who was buying some from him later on board the ship. I was like, Dad, I'm telling you, anything you wanted on that ship was available to get. I mean, it was
It's like
just,
prison. It's anything available.
you know, and we just and everybody after a while, everybody got to know who everybody was, and I just felt sorry for the guys that were over 6 foot tall because the beds were designed for like 5'11".
Yeah. Same on
So,
the submarines. I think
oh
5'9" was the max
yeah, I think it was a
because of
max
the
actually.
hatches and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, and they still like that. You still can't be real tall to be on board
Mm-hmm.
on the carriers. It's gotten a little bit different, but they still ain't changed their beds. Actually, Chris, I was getting ready to pull up some other articles. I know I got on a rampage. Excuse me. Election guru Rachel Bitcuffer. The Democrats face 10 alarm fires after Virginia debacle. Benja debacle. Yes, but we kind of think, so this tells you something. This should tell the Democrats something. So they brought Joe Biden, they brought Kamala Harris, and they brought Barack Hussein Obama, and still the dude lost and lost pretty. Wasn't even that close. I mean, it was close, but it wasn't that close. The one in New Jersey was extremely close, and they didn't win the governorship, but they took over the House Senate or the House. Well, they took over one party at the House. So that's telling Democrats right there. Out of the 4 races, the Republicans won 3 of them. Ooh, that's scary, guys, coming in 2022. And I know I keep hearing them. Oh, the stimulus package, it's bipartisan. It's going to change the world. No, it's not going to do shit for us.
Yeah.
Inflation's going up. People, we're not even giving a shit about it. I keep hearing news. Oh, it's because his poll numbers are going. No, they're not. Inflation's getting ready to go up to 16%. Even Yeltsin's like about to have a heart attack. Kamala even had to admit that it's getting bad. That's like a record. They're talking about gas where I live, and I live in the deep south where gas is usually cheap. We're looking at 4.50. So that means if you live in New York, you're looking like $9, maybe 10.
Yep.
Pittsburgh probably about 8.
The closer you are to water, the cheaper the gas is. It's in Savannah, Georgia. They have it's where Exxon has a huge facility where they bring their gas in and refine it before it goes up to gas stations. Same with Louisiana. You got a huge port. The gas comes in.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
we're,
the crude stuff comes in. It's processed down there and moves up into the country. The further away you are from water, the more and more your gas becomes.
that's like New Orleans is 20 minutes from 5 of the largest refineries in the country, and that's like if you live in Houston, you're only about 30 minutes from 6 of the largest refineries in the country. So, I mean, and some of them refineries outside of Houston and Clearwater are the size of cities, man. I mean, they're ridiculously big. So yeah, so you get cheaper gas there. I mean, when Trump was in office, we got gas. Gas actually got down to 89 cents a gallon down here.
That's what it
Eighty
was
nine
when I
cents.
started driving in the 80s. It was
Yeah,
89 cents a gallon.
yeah. When I started driving, it was I think it was 47 cents a gallon. Cigarettes were 23 cents a pack, and gasoline was 47 cents a gallon, and Cokes were I think 20 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was like, man, and then all of a sudden they were quarter. I'm like, what do you mean quarter? Man, that's bullshit, quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now they're like $3. I'm like, yeah, okay. And y'all don't think there's inflation, right, people?
Yeah,
Just keep believing
I
that
mean,
shit.
it's really. I think we talked about this also last show. When I started driving, it was cigarettes were $1.99 a pack. A 6 pack of Milwaukee's Best was like $2.20 or $2.15 before taxes, and gas was 89 cents. I could go to the convenience store, get a full tank of gas, like $5 or $6, get a package of cigarettes and a 6 pack of beer. Now the cigarettes were $1.05 after taxes. The beer was $2.35 after taxes. The taxes were already paid into the gas. I could give the guy a $10 bill for cigarettes, booze, and gasoline, and walk away with paper change in my hand, a couple of coins and some paper change. You go to a gas station now and give them a $10 bill for gasoline, you are not getting any change
Yeah,
unless you got by a gallon.
yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a friend of mine, Kyle, was asking me, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about it tonight. She was asking me about the vaccine mandates, and I can't really comment because I got the vaccine, guys. So it's hard for me to tell you to do or not to do. But I got the traditional vaccine. I got the Johnson and Johnson because I don't want to play around with the new tech. It's still up to you people, and I think what they're doing is wrong. I don't think they should be forcing people to take vaccinations because now the CDC got backed in the corner by a good reporter the other day and said, "Well, wait. So you're saying all the new people were unvaccinated and all those other people were unvaccinated?" He said, "Well, that's right." So he said, "Well, that should make a third of the country now had COVID that's unvaccinated." So he said, "What are we worried about?" He said, "You said that 60 to 70% have their vaccinations, and now we know about 20 to 25% have got COVID. So what are we panicking about? Why do we have to get all this shutting down? Why are we doing all this?" And he said, "Can't people with vaccinations carry the disease and give it to other people?" So it doesn't make any sense you telling people they have to have a card because the people carrying it can be given it to the staff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, yeah, and see, they can't deny it, so they just didn't want to talk about it. Virginia veteran charged covering a F Biden sign. Oh, I guess you can't do that. Well, it said F
Freedom of
Biden.
speech. Freedom of speech. You can't
I
stop
know.
someone from saying something.
Yeah, they had a big billboard down here in somebody's backyard. They had a picture of Obama in a diaper. Right? They tried everything they could to get it down. And New Orleans is a liberal city. They still couldn't get it down. Judges like, no, it's freedom of speech. You can't take it down.
Mm-hmm. As long as it
Yeah.
doesn't incite violence, you can't stop it.
They were like the guy's like, well, that's my yard. I want to do it. That's what I'm going to do. Obviously, he didn't like Obama.
Yeah,
Don't know
clearly.
why he didn't like Obama, but he didn't like Obama. Obama condemns politicals of climate change. Obama, don't talk about politicizing about the climate change. That was your number one thing you like to politicize, except for bathrooms. Well, that was the other thing you loved to politicize. Well, everybody should have their own bathroom. Okay, that's just confusing, but okay. What? So I guess if one day I feel like this, I can go in that bathroom, and one day I feel like that, I can go in that bathroom, or one day I feel like this. That's just so stupid. And now we've had attacks in some of these bathrooms, so now the country's rethinking it. And then we started letting these guys who are becoming girls get into girl sports, and they just started dominating them.
Oh, it's worse than that. Not just girls sports. I think the guy's last name is Wiener, uh, and he's a legislator in California, and he got some legislation through that says if you're feeling opposite sex, you can be housed with the opposite sex in prison. So some male criminal, says, I feel female. I want to be housed with my fellow kind. They put him in a all female population, and he got one of the females pregnant. That is the most irresponsible legislation I've ever heard of in any state. But guess what? It's California.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're a federal prisoner, you don't have conjugal rights unless you're married. So a guard having sex with a female prisoner is statutory rape as far as the federal government is concerned. A prisoner having sex with another prisoner, whether they're the same sex or the opposite sex, is statutory rape in the eyes of the federal government. So both of these prisoners are being charged with federal rape, statutory rape charges, and the girl's pregnant. She's going to have a child in prison because of this irresponsible legislation that California got across.
Yeah, nothing surprised me in California. It's one thing about California that we might actually see rights for men come out for abortions and stuff out there. There's been a couple of cases, landmark cases, where men have sued to keep their girlfriend or whoever from having an abortion. Uh, in the end, if a woman wants to sneak over and have one, she can, but then it would have been a crime. It's a hard thing. It's a hard fight when you get into those fights. Oh, well, it's the woman's body. Yeah, it is a woman's body, and for 8 or 9 months, it's her body, and then for the dad, it's the rest of his life. So I'm always like, I'm always asked the same question. I said, who's actually being put out here more? I said, you for 9 months, and then after that, you go your separate ways. You don't have to worry about it again. I said, you just have to have an abortion. I said, now the dad's going to deal with this kid until the dad dies. I'm like, so really, who's being put out more? So it's a tough one, but hey, I got a firm thing. I'm not anti-abortion, but I do believe if someone's willing to take the baby, you shouldn't be allowed to have an abortion because you knew as well as anybody else when you did that you had a chance of getting pregnant.
Yeah, and on the other thing, like you said, it could be a hard ride for the dad because he will be financially responsible for the child until the child turns 18 and or the wife, ex-wife, girlfriend, whatever, gets married to someone else. Once they marry someone else, his responsibility can end. But a lot of women already know that, so they might have a boyfriend who's rich enough who will take care of her and her son, but still fleece the dad for whatever child support he's due for until the child reaches 18. And so, I think the legislation ought to be so that the man can stop the abortion if she's going to have one, and or request one if he isn't financially stable to raise a child for 18 years.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. The dad doesn't have any right. He should. I mean, if she can say abortion, why can't he?
Right.
And then if he doesn't want the kid, why does he have to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he says, "Well, I don't want that kid. I can't have that. I can't make an abortion, but I don't want the kid."
Well, and there's also the he said, she said. She can say, "Hey, it's his," and and they don't force a genetic test. They don't, and there's no legislation that I'm aware of where they have to genetically connect by DNA that child belongs to that man or that man.
Well, there's a way you can force them into a DNA test, but once money's asked for, then you can have them tested. If you can say, "Hey, look, it's not mine. I didn't sleep with this girl, whatever," then the courts will usually say, "Yeah, you have to have a DNA test if you want the money."
And
but you have to go to court for it.
But if she's not willing to put forth a DNA, again, you have the he said, she said situation there.
Yeah, it is. It's all, and it's just a shame what it is, and it shouldn't even have to be like that. It should be an easier write out. It should be okay. Look, both parties get some kind of rights because it's both of their DNA, and both of them knew sleeping together could cause a baby. So, but it should be that she has all the power because it's not all hers.
Yeah.
And if he wants to take it, it should be considered by a court. Say, well, look, why are you murdering a baby when somebody wants it? It's one thing if nobody wants the child, but still. And the only reason I feel like that is in the United States, we've killed 30 million babies since the abortion laws took effect. 30 million babies. Any one of which could be the cure of cancer, the guy who got us into deep space, the guy who saved the world, the guy who reversed global warming, the woman who done it. We just don't know who we're killing. And are we killing off all the good ones and leaving the shit ones behind? That's the problem. We just don't know.
Yeah.
And when you take that number worldwide, it gets up, way higher than that. It gets into the hundreds of millions. So really and truly, what are exactly we doing here? So it's something that needs to be thought about a little bit more, and it's something that needs. And like I said before, and I've said this 100 times on shows, abortions, if you got to have one, okay, but it shouldn't be allowed to be used as birth control. And I do know women who use it as birth control. I've met several over the years, and they use it for birth control. They're like, "Well, I got pregnant. I don't want any damn babies." I didn't want to use protection, but I don't have any baby too. And then the other part is I've known quite a few women who have had abortions that's really messed them up in the head.
Yeah. Yep. It's a psychological thing too. And I'm not certain on that. I'm not a gynecologist. I'm not an abortion doctor, but there's only so many you can have before it physically damages your female body parts, right?
Yeah, it's a sad thing that we even have to go there. There should be a better way than killing babies. There just should be a better way. But maybe somebody will figure out one of these. Oh, let's see. Federal appeals court hold Biden administration vaccine requirement for the second time. So they halted it, and then he started doing it again. And they said, "What are you doing? We told you couldn't do it." So now the business is a lot. They're telling business you should do it anyway. You should do it anyway. And that's what's her name, Danny Pinsky, Red Freako girl, keeps telling. Well, y'all should just go ahead and do it now and get it over with. And they're like, no, it doesn't look like. It looks like the court's gonna lose this. I mean, the Biden's gonna lose this because in the end, you can't really go around telling people you have to get a vaccination. You can't see. It's not the businesses telling the employees; it's the government telling the business to tell the employees. It'd be different if an employee said, "Well, one of the requirements to be hired here is you have to be vaccinated." Okay, that's a little bit different. You can get away with that. Just like you tell them how they can dress and what kind of piercings they can have and stuff like that when they're working. All that's legal as long as you tell them about it from the get go. But doing it the way they're doing it right now is not. The government can't tell you you have to get people vaccinated to hire them. That's just out.
Well, it's
Just
not just
crazy.
that, but they're also suggesting that businesses over 100 employees make it mandatory that their current employees, their current staff, have to get the vaccines to continue being employed there, which I think is not only A, unconstitutional, but B, I don't know, but as far as me, I don't know how the rest of the country feels, but if my company did that and said, you all have to get the vaccine, they get my 2 weeks notice. Like that day that they say it's mandatory from here out, my 2 weeks notice will be turned in immediately.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just one of those things. I was listening to I can't remember the guy's name. The guy, so one of the guys, there was a march on or something. There was a bunch of people. He ended up shooting three of them, I think, and instead of bringing them case. So when I heard this on CNN's going on about how the guy's a racist and white supremacist. I'm like, wow, okay, this dude hates everybody. He hates blacks now. So come to find out, he shot white people. He's a white guy who shot white people. So he's not a supremacist and he's not a racist. And then come to find out the three people he shot had severe criminal records and he felt his life was in severe danger. So, and then Joe Biden got on TV and said how this guy was a racist pig and all this stuff. And now we find out in court it's not. It's not true. None of it is. So it's a completely different thing. But yet the media is out there all the time. So the media is trying to do it. And then his lawyer said once the president said this on national television, the case should be dismissed anyway.
Instant mistrial.
Yeah. He said, the president should have never said that.
Yeah.
He said it's not his business. And since it hadn't been settled yet, why did you say it? Now they're trying to say that the judge is a racist and he's a Trumper. Come to find out, no, the liberals put him there. Yet another lie by CNN and NBC.
If you are crucified in the media and you're going to a court case where you're, going to go to jail and then you've been crucified by the media, well, almost 9 times out of 10, you are crucified by that court.
Yeah, they're just, no, and now you get judges that are getting tired of the media. Thank God, finally, the judges are growing some backbones again because they're getting tired of the media and them trying to tell them, you force them into this or force them into that. They're just like, no, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. And more judges are ruling against the Democrats. And that's like Yeltsin was talking about the one percenters the other day and how about their fair share. And then they asked 4 or 5 of the other Democrats. They said, no, we know that the rich people pay their fair share. He said they pay what they're supposed to pay. And the guy even admitted, and I've said this a million times, you can't tax the rich like that. It doesn't work that way. So if you tax them an additional 15%, that just means you and I, when we go to get our Coke now, is going to be $6. When
Mm-hmm.
we go to whatever it affects, it's just going to go up in price. If it's Microsoft, whatever companies it is, it's just going to pass it on to us. They're not going to eat this. They're not going to lose their profit margin over it. They're just going to pass it on to us. And what the bad part is, the politicians know it. So they're trying to make themselves look good on something they know is going to hurt the country long term.
Well, and the other thing is that some of these rich guys are so rich that they can stop making money and just live on what they have and not have to have any, they won't have any income. They don't need any income. Therefore, they're not paying any more into the tax income system, which again, it's downhill. It'll just trickle down to the next class down, the middle class, and then they're going to have to pay more taxes, and the class below them are going to have to pay more taxes. So, you know,
Yeah, it's just and they know this. There's no way anybody who's more than 15 years old can't figure out that if you tax the rich, you're just taxing us.
yeah,
Especially the middle class, they're going to pay the most, and that's just the way it always works that way. And you don't get to be rich because you're stupid. Not to get that rich anyway to be stupid. It's just and it's amazing that people in this country do believe it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's just I'm not. You mean the climate deal that America and China are making? No, that's just some stupid shit going on there. China's just trying to get money from America because it's on the verge of going bankrupt right now.
yes,
They made the same stupid mistake Russia did. They started building unheathered all over their country, both in buildings and ships and planes, and a lot of this stuff is junk. And now they've built themselves into a place where they don't have any money anymore. Because once the United States and the Europeans really slowed down their buying, almost stopped. See, if we cut them off completely, they're a third world country because the only people they can buy from will be Russia, Venezuela, North Korea, and places like that. And if that happens, they're done. They can't really start a war right now because they can't feed their people if they start a war. And by the way, that's how Japan conquered China twice. China when they got there, they landed on the beaches and instead of shooting Chinese, they offered them a bowl of rice for their gun. That's how hungry they were. They said the Japanese said they were so skinny and so bad it would just look like they were completely malnourished, and they
yeah,
would just offer them a bowl of rice for their gun, and they would take them prisoner. And you know what, the Chinese were happy to, and that's the way it's going to happen here, especially now that China's got a bigger middle class than the United States. If this goes down, man, people are going to start starving there fast, and it's not going to be like with COVID. You notice the stores went empty in 3 or 4 weeks. It's not going to be like that. China's going to be a week, and by the third week, they're going to be really hungry, and they're going to be asking for humanitarian aid. There'll be things going on in the country. So, and Ping knows this. He's not stupid. He's matter of fact, he's setting up a deal where he can be emperor for life, or I should say president for life, whatever the hell they
yeah.
call it over there.
Emperor president.
Yeah, whatever they call it. Mega rich Nancy Pelosi
Ew.
opposes billionaire tax in Biden's bill. Well, that's why that doesn't surprise me. USC professor defends Blue Lives Matter flag. They're competing points of view. So they're trying to get him to take the flag down. He's like, no, why? If you can put BLM flag up here, I can definitely put this one up here. So yeah, that's true too. You can't tell one he can and one
Freedom
he
of
can't.
speech, and
That's right.
it's not inciting anyone to start or condone violence of any sort. So keep it up.
Let's see. Biden Dems want IRS spying on America and their bank accounts. We talked about this earlier. This is just official article comes. This is actually a Fox News article here by Kevin Hearn, Ashley Hinson, and they're just talking about the same things we were talking about earlier about the IRS looking at it. And the Dems truly want this. I don't know why they want this because in the end it's going to turn the country against them.
Yeah, I mean, the trend is already that most of the country is already against them. You know, and people are fleeing out of Democratic-controlled cities and states. So, but this is just, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, it's Gestapo tactics. There's
Yeah,
no
it
other
is.
way around it.
Let's see. Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat, the government failed to fulfill this most basic responsibility. I don't know why she just don't become a Republican because she started hating on the Democrats, and I don't know why Cheney don't become a Democrat because that's who she sounds like. And I don't know how her dad would even put up with this shit. I'm thinking, oh man, Darth Cheney. Darth
Yeah,
Cheney would have loved Trump. He'd probably wished he was Trump's VP.
yeah, yeah. And what did he do? He shot one of his best buddies in the face with
Yeah.
a shotgun, and nobody went to prison.
Nope. And he got his heart replaced while he was in VP job and came right back and did his job.
Yeah,
That's when I started calling him Darth Cheney, actually. I'm like, oh shit, we have Darth Cheney.
yeah. What did he get replaced with, like a pig heart or something like that?
I don't know what it was, but I'm just thinking, oh, I hope George Bush don't die because we're going to war if he takes over.
Yeah,
Um, CBS, NBC. Oh yeah, did y'all know that Build Back would actually cut taxes for everybody? Yeah, sure it would. Lie to us some more, people. We're not stupid anymore.
yeah. So why don't you just give us all a glass of Reverend Jim Jones's Kool-Aid while you're at it?
I know. Well, I see. So I see the liberal judge told the House or told the Senate or whatever, told the Congress that they could have Trump's things, and the appeal court said no, you can't. We're stopping that. So it's going to probably end up in front of the Supreme Court. But anyway it goes, they're not going to get him because it's executive privilege. A lot of stuff that they wanted to see Obama's, he got away with executive privilege. So Trump's saying the same thing. Oh, what, you discriminating against white people now?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the things that Obama did with executive privilege weren't legal, but I think no one wanted to confront him on that for fear of being called a racist because of his ethnicity.
When Obama gave them all that money, what was it, $4 billion? Well, he gave back like 250 billion. Then he gave back 4 million in untraceable cash on 4 pallets from 11 countries. That's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
He traded cash for hostages, and we passed a law back in the 70s after all of those hijackings that we wouldn't do that again. That was illegal. So I don't know how he got away with that. There's a couple of things he did. I have no idea how he got away with, but he was the abominator. He had it going. Well, I mean,
I think it was his ethnicity. Quite honestly, if he hadn't been black, those things he did that are illegal, he would have been called out for and impeached.
yeah, and then he made a lot of racist statements that he got away with too. So it's kind of funny to me, but it's part of being. It's just part of being in the being president. I guess you get all kind of little extras, little land yappers and stuff. So I mean, but it also proved that he's not. I mean, the thing in Virginia also proves that he's not a draw. And I don't know why he thought he was. The reason, and this is what bothers me about stupid liberals. The reason Trump got in office, and liberals, which I thank you every day for, because I can't believe y'all did this to the country, is because of Obama. That's how bad Obama was of a president that the country was desperate and put Trump in over Hillary of all people. They said, you know what, Hillary, you're evil, and we want Trump. We don't want any more Democrats. Because Obama never had a GDP over 1.8. It was averaging around 1.3, which is unbelievably poor. His whole economic thing was a joke. The country was high priced gasoline, $4 or $5 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
He was a mess. And for some reason, he's the greatest president since Kennedy. I'm like, yeah, well, Kennedy wasn't a great president. He was only around for 3 years. And what did he do? He started a space race. That's about it. Oh, he almost got us in a nuclear war. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, he almost got us in a nuclear war.
Yeah, let's not forget about that, people. And a lot of people think he won a second term. We'd have probably got into a nuclear war. So,
Yeah, he might have.
So we don't know. No, I'm not anti-Kennedy. I wasn't even alive when Kennedy. Well, matter of fact, I was. He got killed on 11/23 of 1963. 11/22 of 1963. Sorry, that would have made me all of 10 months old, 11 months old. Yeah, to the day actually. Yeah, because I was born on January 22nd, 1963. So about 9, 10 months after I was born, somebody shot him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about what do you know when you're a baby? Shit, I wasn't there. All I could go by what I heard, and then all the liberals were like, "Oh, he was the greatest president ever," and all the Republicans were like, "Oh, he's the worst president ever." And of course, I didn't know nothing about him, so what the hell did I know? The problem with all this is last time we agreed on a president was Reagan. He actually got liberal votes both times. He was all right. He got in handedly both times, and he had good. When he left offices, when he ran in the second time, he was at like a 70-something%. He had like the highest rate ever in the country at 86% of part of his term. So And the son bitch had Alzheimer's for his last 2 years for sure. They'll
Yeah.
never admit it. I
Well,
mean,
he
nobody's
had it
gonna,
throughout the whole thing, but it didn't show until the last couple of years.
yeah.
It's not
But
something that just happens like that. I mean, it's a long, involved process, and he
yes,
had it at least in the beginning of the first administration.
yeah, not like Joe Biden, who every time we see him open his mouth, we're like, "Oh my God, what's
Yeah,
he going to say
he
next?"
can't. He doesn't know where he is half the time.
That's what scares me. He doesn't know where Harris is. Yeah, you just kind of go, "Oh, what we got going on here?" It's kind of weird. Biden chooses Robert Cliff to lead the FDA despite drug industry ties. Of course, who cares?
Yeah, yes.
Somebody asked me today about why we're getting all these extra shots and these boosters after they said we weren't going to need them. Because remember, the CDC's lied to us from day one. So first they said we don't need no mask, we don't have to social distance. Oh, then we got a social distance, we got a mask, and we go back, and then we're just going to have to get these shots, and that's it. Now I said we'll get it, okay, and then all of a sudden here we are, a year later, and we got to get boosters. And where a year we're going to be from here, we got to get boosters again. Now, even doctors are starting to admit now, too many of these shots are not going to be good for us. This is technology we do not understand that we're releasing in our body and getting 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7 of these shots. Every time you add a shot, you add more of a chance of catching one of its side effects. And the doctors were talking about that today. So, we're going to have to work this out.
Well, there's just not enough research on them. They didn't spend the mandatory minimum 22 months of researching these vaccines. A and B, is it going to be like with the antibiotics? Like certain bacteriological and virological things we have that they give us antibiotics for. If they prescribe the antibiotics too much, these diseases, these viruses, build up an immunity to this drug, and then it no longer is effective. The same thing can happen with these virus vaccines. Is they're going to start pumping so much into us that the vaccine does nothing, and the virus mutates beyond the vaccines we have.
What they're hoping for is, like a lot of viruses do, it just mutates itself out. It burns itself out, which is always a possibility. But let's not count on that until we know that it actually happens. How critical race theory went from conservative battle cry to mainstream powder keg. Because people. So basically, so y'all know this, and you can look it up for yourself. Don't get mad at me. Critical race theory says that all white people are evil and all black people are losers and have to be taken care of. Their words, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what they said. And they're not even blaming white people because black people lose. They said it's from their African heritage. So don't hate on me. I didn't write this shit.
And that's not even the worst of it. Their teachers are taking these young children, usually white, and taking them to the front of the class and shaming them for being white in front of their fellow students. And what do you think is going to happen if they keep doing that? That kid that's just been zeroed out in the middle of the class, at the front of the class, and what happened to you as a black person is his fault. That kid's going to get his ass beat in the parking lot of the school at the end of the day.
Yeah, and he's just going to start hating blacks. I mean, they're just making things worse. It's just a bad theory, and I don't know how it got in schools. It's getting thrown out of most schools now. I mean, it's slowly but surely being pulled out.
I should hope so. And the critical race theory was really basically, from what I understand, was a class for college, so that colleges could sell this class to the students for more tuition rather, and have more offerings. It doesn't. There's no basis for it whatsoever, and it's all just. It's not even theory. What is it? It's all opinion. It's all in an opinion-based class.
It is, and then like this lady writes up here, she said children should learn to see people for who they are, not for what they look like, and she's right.
It should come from the parents, not the school.
But my problem with all this is, okay, yes, blacks were brought here as slaves. Well, some of the blacks that are in our country were brought here as slaves, and some of them came here on their own. And there's a big difference between those two groups, too, by the way. But, okay, so how long ago did we free 100, 125 years, 140 years, something like that? So, okay, and I know a lot of those years were bad because I lived through a couple of them. So, but it's not like that today in any shape, form, or fashion. It's nothing like when I was a kid. Not even close. People can try to say it is, but it really isn't. I mean, I think it's 14 of the major largest cities in the country are black controlled. So you can't go around saying you can't make it because you're black or you can't get ahead because you're black. That's just bullshit. And that's like everything else. And like under Trump with the lowest the lowest black unemployment and Spanish unemployment in the history of the country. So you can't say you couldn't get a job, and now especially you can't say you can't get a job. Anybody who wants a freaking job right now and get one, then get one for decent pay, because people are so desperate for help. So how long are we going to keep using this as an excuse? I
As
mean,
long as it
how?
gets the media money, they're going to continue to use it. Sad but true.
Oh, liberal elites abandon the working class. You tell them, baby. Let's see. Inflation report will help GOP kill Biden's bill. Moore says, "Yeah, it will because inflation. They're predicting 16%. People, I don't think any of y'all alive have experienced 16% inflation. So it don't sound like a lot, but for like say you're paying $2 for milk, you could be paying like $5. You don't want to talk about what gas is going to be, and it's going to be ridiculous.
Wasn't it under Obama that milk reached more than the price per gas of gallon, or price for a gallon of gas? I mean, the gallons back then were like $2 or $3, but milk, I remember during the Obama administration, was $4 and $5, $6 a gallon.
Yeah. They were. It got stupid. Oh, by the way, so far all of Trump's people have defied the March 6th thing. They're not going to speak to the Congress. They've already put Steve, what's his name, the big guy, in contempt because they're not talking about it. They're like, no. And they're doing executive privilege. It looks like the court's now going to hold it up. And even if this one kicks it out, it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to hold it up. Because you can't, if you overturn Trump's executive privilege here, then people are going to go back and look at Obama and say, well, why can't we overturn his?
Yeah.
So this something I haven't understood about the liberals in a while. So they impeached Trump twice. So they know if the House and the Senate gets back in the Republicans, they're going to impeach Obama not Obama, they're going to impeach Biden and Kamala. And there's several things they impeach Biden. I mean, I heard him several times say, well, I know it's illegal, but I'm going to do it until they make me stop. Really? After a federal court told you to stop. But the January 6th probe, a lot of people are they're not going. They don't want to be bothered with it. They think it's stupid. So, in case y'all didn't know, Facebook put Trump's page back up. And January 6th is the day they took it down. So, I can see why he's suing them now. If you go on Trump's page, you can look for the whole day. Every post you see says, please be respectful, don't beat people up. I mean, he was every post. Yeah. He was saying, don't hurt people. And so, I can't tell you what he was saying. I know what the media was saying, but I don't think Trump was saying. What he was saying in private might have been different, but that's what the people were hearing. And that's all that really matters. Was he inciting a riot? And from his Twitter and his Facebook page, he was not. And I think that's
not even just that. His public speaking, when he was like there on the ground, he said consistently at the beginning of every speech, "Let's have a peaceful conference. Let's have a peaceful demonstration." He never once said, "Storm the building, get inside there, get the computers." He didn't. Never once did he incite any of those people to attack and get inside on the grounds of the Congress. Not once.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's just. Oh, what can we do? We live in a world of freakos now. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Do we have any more of those? Let me go check right quick. I know we had a couple other articles I wanted to catch. I want to make sure what I did with them now. CEO who threw chair inside Capitol on January 6th gets jail time. Whatever. So no one, BLM was going through towns. Actually there have been several rapes reported, a couple of deaths. All kind of places burnt down, millions and millions of dollars wasted, and nobody gets in trouble for that. And they actually stormed the Capitol too, and they don't get in trouble for it. It sounds a little bit racist to me.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily racist so much as that no one wants to go after those BLM type groups for fear of being called themselves a racist.
Yes, Justice Department charges Steve Bannon with criminal contempt for Congress. I think Bannon's going to tell him screw off. Biden shot or test mandate dealt another blow by Fifth Circuit Court. Yeah, they told him he can't do it. And if he goes in front of the Supreme Court, he's going to lose there too. Mm-hmm. Once he gets this high up and he can't go in there, well, he's kind of done. Kamala Harris, the incredible disappearing vice president.
Have they found her yet?
Oh my God! So wait, what bothered me is the first 3 months she was right behind Joe Biden all the time, which vice presidents aren't even supposed to be around the president. They're supposed to be off doing something else. That's the whole point of having a VP, that you keep them separate in case somebody nukes or kills the president, the VP. But there's a couple times a good sniper could have took him out with one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one time a good sniper could have took out them two, Schumer and Pelosi. I was like, Lord, man, the country's getting stupid. Yeah, she shouted all kind of glass. It's my ass. They wanted the person of color, which she's not really. Uh,
Yeah. What is she? She's Hispanic, isn't she?
she's I don't know. She's two different races, and one of them's a lily white race, and she's married to a white man with white kids. So I'm kind of like, ooh, that was some bullshit. But the media ran with it like it was the truth, and that's the problem
Mhm.
with the media. And liberals have gotten stupid; they believe everything that their media tells them.
Yeah.
People all the time, oh, Trump did this, Trump did no. I said, no, he didn't. I said, did you know Biden did this? Oh, no, he did. I didn't hear it on my media. I said, yeah, because they don't want you to know.
It's like they kind of did the same thing with Obama after he won both of his administrations. They actually went up and started saying things that the person who lost did, and they're like, yeah, I'm so glad Obama did that. And they're like, well, actually, he didn't. And the people are like, what? It's funny as hell.
I know. Dr. Siegel rips American Medical Association push for a pro-cart guide. We don't need to be policed. Yes, I agree with that. We don't need to be policed, but guess what? They're going to police us anyway because they think they can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Race Americans Medical Association released a language guide that promotes critical race theory. Oh shit, huh? Oh, dude, you're gonna catch hell for that. Yeah, you can't do that in American soup. They just stupid any way you get. Everywhere you go, America's getting stupid. Uh, and what bothers me is most of the people I know today are just trying to make it, trying to get in the house, to have a nice place. I know a lot of people in New Orleans. There's a lot of black people in New Orleans, and they're doing the same thing everybody else is. They're trying to get their place, get together, get their life, have a life. New Orleans has basically done away with the ghettos down here, so it's a different kind of city now, and everybody's just trying to make it. But the media wants you to think there's some kind of race war. It always cracks me up when the media talks about South being racist, and compared to the North, there's not really no racism down here. It's a much different place, but if you haven't been down here, you don't know it.
Yeah, I lived in Georgia for 13 years, and this is back in the 90s now. But racism was a lot different even back then. If a white person didn't like you because you were black, he told you to your face. He didn't call you the N-word. He didn't say you can't come into my business. He just said, I don't like you, period. And people accept it. You're truthful. You put your opinion out. That's fine. Up here, and actually I grew up in Maryland and D.C. and areas like that, white folks would be super friendly to the black people. And as soon as a black person was gone, they're talking bad about him and using the N-word behind his back. I'm like, you just said he's a great person. Now you're saying all this hateful shit about him. And they hide it. It's different. It's in the open behind everybody's back. It's weird and twisted, but that's been my experience in living in near DC.
Yeah, everything's twisted around DC. What was that? Oh no, Linda Greenhouse, Supreme Court taking up Mississippi abortion case shows they have issues with current law. I have no idea what Mississippi's law is, so I don't know. I'm not in the middle of having an abortion, so I'd have to ask. Let's see. Dana Losh, no way White House shooting is self-defense. I don't know. That's what the judge is looking at.
Yeah, I read that story, and it sounds like there was a mob chasing this kid, saying get him. And I'm sorry, but I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not 17, or he was 17 when this happened, or what have you. Sorry, but there's a group of people, even without weapons, that are chasing me down, saying get him. If I have a weapon, I'm going to use it to defend my life, especially if you're saying get him.
The three guys had pretty serious criminal records, but
yes,
but the media said that he was a white supremacist. Joe Biden said he was a white supremacist and a racist. So when I heard that, because I hadn't really been following the story, so I'm assuming that the guy's a white guy, and he's a neo-Nazi and he hates black people and he's killing them. Well, come to find out, they were white people he shot. So he's not a neo-Nazi and he's not racist.
White criminals, and I think only one of them did not have a weapon. The guy who was injured and will survive. The other two had guns. That one of them actually tried to grab his weapon, and he shot him and killed him. The other one had a handgun that was allegedly being pointed at the young man's head, and that was the second guy he killed.
And you see, we really need to figure out a way that this is going to change, because there's too much of this division. The media just lies too much. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
why not put the whole story out? Let's see. White House legal expert. I've never seen a judge act like this in a criminal trial. Really? This guy's done a lot of criminal trials. Oh, this is a USA Today story. That's why they're lefty. Says, what's bothering me about it is the judge is a lefty. He's not a righty. He's a lefty, and they're attacking their own. They're trying to say, because he didn't do what they want him to.
Whether he's left or right or center, he's a judge. He has to be impartial to all parties until all the facts and evidence are in, and then the jury and him come to a decision together. That's the way it works. That's the way it's always worked. That's the way it should continue to work.
It should. It is, but they just don't want it like. Oh, so when he opened up the case on the 11th, he asked everybody, including the jury, if anybody had served in the armed forces. And one guy said, "Yes, I have." And he stood up and he said, he had everybody applause for his service. It was memorial. I mean, it was what was it? Whatever day it was, and that's what should have been done. So I had several people tell me thank you for my service. That was a good thing, not a bad thing. I don't know why anybody would consider it a bad thing.
I can't see why. I don't understand why it's some kind of an issue. You see someone who's I know I talk to policemen. I say thank you for your service at my job, because they're eviscerated in the media just as much as this kid in Rittenhouse is. People are saying hate cops all over the place. They have been doing so for years. I mean, when I was a kid in the 80s, there was all kinds of hate rap versus police, kill cops this and kill cops that, and again, freedom of speech, as long as it doesn't incite violence. And we have a song that says kill cops. Sorry, but that is a violation of freedom of speech. And it gets policemen into more dangerous situations than they actually should have been.
It's just, all that shit is so crazy. At this point, I'm always like, oh my God, shocking new footage from our southern border. I don't need to see no shocking new footage from our southern border.
Yep. Running across the border.
Our president don't want to do anything about it, so I'm just, and I don't have the oomph to make him do it. Now, Seattle crime gives rise to security escorts for county employees. Yeah, I guess so, because you said, oh, go do whatever you want. We don't care. Us Democrats think you should be free and run wild and pluck flowers and shoot people and take over 18 blocks of our city for 6 weeks or 6 months.
And defund our police force on top of all that.
See, the people want the police force fixed, but the mayor's trying to prove a point that he wasn't wrong. Well, yeah, it looks like you were wrong, dude. Look like you suck pretty bad. I mean, it just seems like that. Wait, my mother-in-law has 3 stepdaughters. What moral obligation does she have to include them in the will? None.
Yeah.
She has no moral obligation at all.
She has no obligation to put her blood children into her will. It's up to her. It's her will.
But by law, when somebody marries with stepchildren, the stepchildren aren't entitled to the estate because they're not actual, unless the person adopts them, they're not entitled to the estate. LeBron James responds to what? We don't care about LeBron James, man. We don't care what he's talking about.
I thought he went back to his planet, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he did too, but apparently he came back.
Yeah.
And the Brits over there are having freak out sessions. I mean, they're just too many. They're trying to hold the people. You see, if you're going to try to hold down the people, you're either going to have to start a war or go backwards 100 years. There's too many of us, and there's too many of us are not going to be tied down.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine said, well, I'm doing the hard part of COVID. He goes, you get to travel. I said, I'm an essential worker. He said, no, you're a contractor. I said, yes, somebody's got to fix people's broken electrical, broken plumbing. I said, you can't stay at home if nothing's working.
Right. I was deemed an essential worker because of the nature of my job. I work at a major home improvement center, and guys like Joe and other people, they had to come and get wood and buy electrical
that's how it was.
Devices and critically needed things. I mean, you can't be expected to stay at home and not go to your job, and then your toilets don't work. I mean, it's just unsanitary across the board.
It is, man. I know we got to get out of here. So, Joe, thanks for coming to hang out. Who y'all had on with you and Jeffrey tonight?
We had Wild Trees, a biologist, animal behavioralist, paranormal researcher. We talked about Bigfoot and how to catch him and how we get him into the scientific record, things of that nature.
Bigfoot Tartar sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm a
Yeah.
coon ass. Come on, eat any damn thing. When you born in the bayou people, you learn to eat anything, man. Snails, crawfish, it don't matter, birds,
Yeah.
alligators, snakes.
Roadkill stew.
Anything that moves probably tastes good. Y'all think I'm kidding? I'm being serious. You come on down here. We'll show you some of the stuff we eat down here in the bayou, people. You'd be heaving and hoving. That's how we found out that crawfish was so damn good, man. Ooh, yeah, man, they good stuff.
They look like baby lobsters. I mean,
Yeah, but they don't taste like baby. And
no.
that's the funny part. So, growing up eating cuyo, and so the first time I ate lobster, I was expecting just big lobster. I'm thinking big crawfish, right? All split open, butter all dry. I said, this is going to be damn good. So I cut it, and it was no flavor. So y'all notice for the most part, lobsters just steamed to boil with butter, sometimes garlic butter, but really that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Crawfish are not cooked like that. They boil with super amounts of seasoning that when you eat them, you're drinking your beer, your Coke, or whatever, so because your eyes are streaming. Not so much because it's hot, it's just so much seasoning. That's just really, really, really good. And all this fixing that come with them, corn and potatoes and sausage. But you gotta be careful when you put that stuff in, people. Always wait to the end to add everything because, like mushrooms and potatoes and corn will soak that shit up like you wouldn't believe. So if you put
Yep.
it in early, it's going to be so hot you're not going to be able to eat it. I mean, you literally you'll be like it's like eating ghost peppers raw, just munching them down. It's just harsh. It really is, but it's good
But
stuff. So
then, but then one of you all, not only were you able to figure that part out and put the vegetables in last, one of you got so damn hungry that not only did you eat the crawdad tail, you sucked the guts out of its head when you were
and that's
done.
good stuff too, man. Who y'all good stuff, man. Pinching tails and sucking heads. It's a Louisiana thing. Hey, people, take it for whatever you want, but that's what they say. Pinch your tail, suck your head. No, not like that. It's not sexual kind of thing. Eating crawfish, you got to pinch your tail, get the meat out, and suck the
You're
head.
essentially also sucking in its intestines and brain and lungs and
Oh, it's good. What you're after is the fat in there. All the fat's really good.
yeah.
But what they do now is they take the crawfish and they take the heads and they clean them and they make them for bisque, so you can make crawfish bisque. And you go back and stuff the heads with the bisque, and it's really, really good stuff. I'll have to do a food show on it one day. I'll have to invite that Amelia girl, that Amelia woman, the food tease, the network's food tease. She's our expert food tease. She's an FT, people. You ever heard of the other kind of tease? Well, she's the opposite. She's a food tease. But we got to get out of here. I know Kathy's coming up with Quantum Leap. She's probably actually on the air as we speaking. Oh, excuse me for that yawn. Shit on the way I came from, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed the show tonight. We got quite a few topics in. You notice we talked about a lot of news. We weren't really too opinionated on it, except for calling Joe Biden an idiot, and everybody knows he's an idiot. I mean, even the Democrats. Come on, I'm a Democrat, friends. First, they're like, we got to get rid of Kamala Harris so Biden, because Biden says he's going to run again. The Democrats don't want him to run again. They want him to go away.
Mm-hmm.
They're hoping he get through. Remember, guys, he's still got 3 years left. He's effed up this bad in less than a year.
It only took him 6 months to start messing up. So yeah,
God, he's a disaster. And come election time in 2022, they're going to be talking about Afghanistan and how we left Americans over there.
mm-hmm.
They're going to be talking about the economy. I guarantee it's still going to be bad. Gas prices still going to be high. Inflation is still going to be high. Nobody wants to go back to work for some reason, and people keep retiring left and right. So pretty much, in about 15 fields, big fields too, 25% of their people retired. Now I'm finding out a bunch of doctors, nurses are retiring too. They went out. They're tired of it. So a lot of these people just retire because they're tired, but now some of them are taking early retirement because they don't get the vaccination. So what bothers me about this, you already have a limited workforce because of the amount of people that retire and the amount of people that want to come back. So now you're going to put mandates on whatever help you got left. It just don't make any sense. And like in New Orleans, they got a mandate. You got to show your vax card to go eat in a restaurant or go to an event. But in Mary, you don't have to. The parish right next to it, you don't have to. And they actually got better restaurants because they're for the locals. The food's good. You go eat, and you don't have to have any cars, don't have any mash. You go in and take your time, enjoy yourself. They do public events, so New Orleans is only hurting itself. Then there's Mardi
Hmm.
Gras. So I think I might skip this Mardi Gras, um, just in case it might be a super spreader. But I said it early in the show. So if the CDC is telling the truth, and 70% of Americans gotten their shots, and then and then out of the unvaccinated, about half have already gotten COVID. Especially now, since they said all the cases were unvaccinated, that only leaves like 10% of the country. Well, why are we getting all crazy about this? This is less than the flu now. We need to just knock it off. And the Delta variant wasn't any worse than the flu, and deaths on anything, not even infection. So I'm not sure why we still got all this panic going on, and why San Francisco and New York, and they're like, we're closed unless you got a card. So wait, this is so funny. I'm listening to this story today. So all these college kids that are underage have fake IDs, right? So they can get in the bars. So now, even though they had real vax cards, they had to go get fake vax cards to match their IDs.
Oh,
So, they get,
yeah.
so now they get all kind of fake papers. That shit was hilarious when I heard that. It's happening in several colleges, and they're like, "What the hell?" Because they can't show the real vax card because it's got the wrong age on to drink.
Or
But
the
anyway,
wrong name on it. It's got a
yeah,
different name.
wrong name, wrong everything. But we got to go, guys. I'm getting ready to start. I got some work I got to catch up on this weekend, but I'm getting ready to start posting all the stuff we did while I was in Las Vegas. I've been Las Vegas and Los Angeles a couple of weeks. I've said that a couple of times. Maybe it's a Freudian thing.
Yeah.
Because Vegas going, come to me, Big Daddy. Come to me, Big Daddy. No, Daddy can't go to Vegas. He can't be spending no money out there. Guys and girls, but we got to get out of here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Centralist with Jay McNicholas and myself. So y'all be sure to come catch us out. I got to add Jay's name to the title when we get out of here. But I don't know where Michael was. Last week he told me he fell asleep. Maybe he got a
Oh,
girlfriend.
crap.
Maybe he got a girlfriend. We can hope he got a
Yeah.
girlfriend. Yeah, some redheaded crazy woman.
Maybe he got a girlfriend Squatch.
Hey, he does kind of look like a squatchy, so he might have got a squatchy girl. 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". He'd have loved my friend D. She was 6'2.5", man. She's tall. And she had hair down her ass. Her daughter came down from Mardi Gras. They cracked me up, man. She passed. I hated to see her go. She was a good friend of mine, but still, it was a strange girl. But she had a lot of fun. She believed in having fun. But anyway, guys, we got to get. If you're coming down from Mardi Gras this year, have a good time. If everyone traveling for the holidays, be safe, people. I know Thanksgiving's coming up. You know what's funny? Before we go, everybody I've talked to pretty much said they're staying home for the holidays this year. Now, I'm thinking about going to a little Christmas village in Georgia and hiding out. We'll see how that goes. On that note, good night and stay tuned. Or good night and switch over to Kathy Belsky live on the United Public Radio Network. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Joe Biden. Bye.